are the champion, the one that holds the line and finishes the mission. Everything that you want is within your grasp. You wake up in the morning ready to dominate the day, and every step taken is with purpose and integrity, because you were not put on this planet to live a mediocre existence. You are here to conquer and make the biggest impact possible, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your tribe. This world is a battlefield, and we will be victorious. This is the Norse Mentality.
What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious day. Me and Cowboy Cody here are going to talk about attacking negative traits. And what I mean by negative traits are bad habits that you've developed over the years that are holding you back from reaching your true potential. And the reason that negative traits are so impactful on our life and why they're holding us back so much is because we're not aware of them. They're buried in our subconscious, and our subconscious controls, 90 to 95% of our regular behavior?
Yep.
So if you're not aware of this and you're just acting with these bad habits with no self-awareness at all, it is most definitely holding you back. But we've all experienced different points in our life where all of a sudden it just clicks and we go, oh shit, I should not be acting this way. Maybe it's with anger. And I think for most men, this is something that we've all dealt with, where we overreact. Maybe it's traffic, maybe it's with the kid, maybe it's with the spouse, whatever it is, work.
Maybe it's the student driver pulling out in front of you this morning in their BMW.
Morning, right? But you had to have self-awareness because I'm sure you felt yourself this morning getting mad. And road rage is definitely something that I know a lot of dudes deal with. But you felt yourself getting mad, but you became aware of that. And I'm sure that whenever you became aware of that, you're okay, let's breathe. This is not something to get worked up about.
Used to, yes.
Used to,
I would be like, what the fuck? Like, I would get super angry. And now I was like, this kid's learning how to drive. I just don't want him to kill himself. You know, I don't want him to make the mistake again and pull out in front of a tractor trailer, and it's the end of his life right there.
So that's a perfect example right there. Before, you were not aware that you were even doing it. You just reacted. That's the difference there. You have awareness, and then you have reacting. We react when we're not aware of these habits that we have. So whenever you become aware of them, maybe it's anger, maybe it's depression. That's something that I used to deal with. I would just get depressed, and I'm like, what's going on? It wasn't even, I didn't even question it. I was just like, well, I'm depressed. And it would spiral out of control. And now I'm like, oh, I have a little bit of sadness in me right now. That's interesting. Okay, well, I can change this. I can change my perspective on this, just like with anger. I'm feeling a little pissed off right now. Okay, well, I don't have to react to this. I don't have to let my subconscious do what it has been doing for the past 25 to 30 years. I can actually dictate where this goes next with conscious awareness. But either whatever that negative trait is that we have, and we have so many of them, I discover a new one every week, I feel like. But when we become aware of these negative traits, this becomes the main priority. All your other goals, all this other shit that you need to work on, whatever else you find important becomes secondary, because this one thing is holding you back. And now that you are aware of it, that's where all of your attention needs to go, to abolish this and to rid yourself of it. But how do we rid ourselves of it?
By continuously working on it.
By continuously working on it. And if we don't start taking action on it right now, in this moment, we're going to put it on the back burner. And then it's just going to get buried into your subconscious again. So that's why when we catch it, maybe you're driving, maybe you're just sitting at home, maybe you're at work, whatever it is, maybe you're working out, and that thought is triggered, and you realize that about yourself. You need to write it down, you need to take a mental note, whatever it is, and you need to start taking action on it immediately. Usually what I do in these situations, when I discover a negative trait about myself, I will immediately start researching books. Okay, well, I need to get a plan of attack here, right? Like I need something for my arsenal to deal with this. And right now I don't have anything. So I'm going to look out to professionals. I'm going to read books from people. Maybe it's psychologists. Maybe it's just regular people that have dealt with it and they decide to write a book about it. Like that's the beautiful thing about the world that we live in now, is that we have so much literature and input and perspectives from different people. And all you have to do is go on Amazon and buy a damn book or go on YouTube and watch a video about it. But whenever you start getting perspectives from other people and people that have been there, done that, and they have eradicated this from their life, is you just start stacking tools that you have, right? And then you can start implementing these things. But it's taking that action immediately. Do not ignore this. You are aware of it. You have not been aware of it your entire life, and now you are. Do not let that get buried and then go another 30 years without thinking about it. And then when you're 50 years old, you're like, fuck, I remember coming to this conclusion in my 30s and I did nothing about it. So I continue to act the same way. And as a result, I'm now 50 years old and I have not accomplished as much as I did. Or maybe I have failed marriages. Maybe my kids and me do not have a great relationship because I did not address this when I first became aware of it 20, 30 years ago. So that is the main thing I want to stress here before we move on is when you become aware of this, start taking massive action right now. Attack this fucking thing like your life depends on it because it does. Your future depends on it. And that's all that matters. Your past is gone. Think about it sometimes, learn from it, and then move on. The present moment is important because the present moment is where you become aware of this. If you are not present, then that awareness never comes.
This is one of those things where you don't truly see the results until you get through it, because your hindsight reflection will tell you how much this negative trait was holding you back at one point.
But if you don't start taking action on it immediately, it will just get buried again.
It never comes to the surface and doesn't stay at the surface for you to actually deal with it.
And just because you think about it for, say, a brief second, and it's usually in flow states, right? Or whenever we're not really when we're just doing things that we enjoy, that bring us happiness and fulfillment, and it doesn't take a lot of effort from us because we've done it so many times. Working out is usually when these kind of thoughts come to me because I'm feeling good. I'm doing something that I've been doing for 5 to 10 years now, and random thoughts will come up because I'm not distracted by all kinds of other shit. I'm in that flow state. Maybe it's in the shower. Maybe it's washing dishes. It's stuff like that where your brain just turns off. That's, it's an old cliche, like best ideas come to you while you're in the shower. That's because you don't have any distractions and you're just in a good mood. You're in a good state. But that doesn't mean that it's completely at the surface yet. It just means that you have a glimpse of it. Wait, what the fuck is this? What is this? Okay, let's unbury this thing. Let's bring this completely to the surface so we can address it. What I think most people do, including myself in the past, is we get a glimpse of it and we go, huh, and we throw some more dirt on top of it.
Or you think you've dealt with it, but you don't know how deeply rooted it truly is.
Well, that's the thing too, is figuring out where did this start? That's important to come to as well. Like where did this problem originate from?
Is it because you didn't sleep the best last night? You haven't ate today? It could be something simple, man.
But it could also be something from your childhood.
Could be.
And a lot of times that's where we develop all of our negative traits. Because at those stages, especially from the time you're born up until about 10 years old, you're just a sponge. You're living in theta. And when you're in theta state, your mind, you are more acceptable to new ideas. You're watching your parents. And that's why so many of our negative traits are from our parents. But unfortunately, they picked it up from their parents, and they picked it up from their parents. So you got 10 generations of fucked up people, and it just continues to build and build and build. But here's the beautiful thing about this, and this is what I love the most, man, about this process. I can break this cycle. All of these negative traits that have been passed down from generation to generation, because exactly what I just said, we observe our parents for the first 10 years of our life. We're just soaking in all of their behaviors. When I become aware of them later on in life, like I have, I can put a stop to it. My kid will not pass down these negative traits that have been around for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years, maybe, dude. Like, that is how deep this shit runs. Your parents observe their parents, who observe their parents, who observe their parents. And we all have these negative traits if we do not work on them.
That takes a ton of fucking courage and bravery right there. But it's necessary.
You have to
do it.
It is your responsibility. Even if you don't have kids, right? A lot of people don't want to have kids. That's fine. Don't have kids. That's not my place. I don't give a shit. But if you have kids, that is your top priority, is to get rid of this shit. That way, that cycle is broken. From this point forward, your family is going upwards. Now, generations, like my kid will deal with some shit, of course, in her life. And hopefully she addresses that. That way it doesn't impact her kids, etc. But at the same time, she's on a much easier path to success if I break it now. And it's not something she ever has to worry about. The more shit that I work on now on myself, and this is why you need to put yourself first at all times. And I know that sounds selfish, but that's the fact of the matter. The more that you work on yourself now, that's going to carry over to every other person around you. You're no longer carrying baggage. You're getting rid of it. That way your kid doesn't have to worry about eliminating all of this bad shit that's been passed down from generation to generation. They can just worry about becoming the best version of themselves. They can worry about pursuing their goals, because these negative traits stop us from pursuing our goals. They're the main thing holding us back. Maybe it's negativity. That's a negative trait. If you can become aware that you're a negative person, and that's hard to do. I wasn't aware of that for 29 years of my life.
That takes some acceptance.
And become aware of that and then say, I no longer want to be this way anymore. I want to be a more positive person, because I realize that these people over here that I hang out with, they give me energy. I love being around these people. Well, I want other people to love being around me. I don't want people to think that I'm a burden or just a drag. You know, it's like, fuck. And we all know people like that. You get around them, they're super negative, and they don't even realize it. They're always talking about bad shit. They're never talking about victories and shit like that. They're never talking about goals and ambitions. They're never talking about all the amazing stuff that is going on in their life, because we all have amazing things going on. They're only focused on the bad shit, and they drain you of energy. And that was the realization for me. Whenever there were certain people I was around, I was like, I love being around these people. Jacob Davis was one of them. I actually think I owe this 100% to Jacob Davis. Jacob Davis is such a positive dude. And whenever me and Jacob started hanging out about 2 to 3 years ago, I realized that. And I was like, I love being around this dude. Everyone loves being around Jacob. He gives you energy. I was like, do I do that? And then I started having to do some self-reflection. I was like, no, dude, you're negative as fuck. All you talk about is bad shit. All you think about is all of this bad shit. So then I was like, okay, well, shit, like this is a negative trait. And this is probably the biggest negative trait that I've had to abolish and to get rid of. And it was the hardest. But I was persistent with it. And I did everything that we're going over on this episode. I started reading books nonstop. I started picking up tactics from, say, like Tony Robbins and people like that, people that have also dealt with this. And I started implementing this stuff into my life. But it became a habit. And actually, there's one, I don't remember the exact thing of it, but I got this from Tony Robbins, who got it from this book that he read back in like the 80s or some shit. It was like a 25-page book. But this book like changed this dude's life. And it changed my life as well. But what it was it's a 7-day fast. But it's a 7-day fast of negativity. So for 7 days straight, you cannot think about anything negative. And if you catch yourself thinking negative thoughts, you got to reset. And you continue to do that. And it's amazing the progress that you can make in just 7 days. Just 7 days of being aware of yourself, aware of your actions, aware of your behaviors and your moods. It compounded so quick because I did this. And then I was like, okay, well, this is 7 days. I'm going to keep this rolling. I've seen such amazing results in just a week that I'm going to continue this trend. But that was it. It was when you catch yourself being negative. Of course, like if you get a negative thought, whatever, but it's not acting on it. It's not dwelling on it. You let it go, right? That's when you build a habit of letting go. And that carries over to every aspect of your life. But Tony Robbins was talking about this book, the 7-day fast. It was like 7-day like spirit fast or whatever. I don't remember what exactly it's called. And I wish I did, because now I know people are going to be like, what was this? You know, but I'm giving you the basis, guys. For 7 days straight, you got to be as positive as possible. Whenever you catch yourself being negative, you need to shift your perspective. You need to have awareness of your mental thought processes, what you're doing in that moment, and choose to act differently, because that's what we're doing here. The way that we get rid of negative traits is by doing positive ones. Okay, I usually get pissed off when I'm driving, right? Someone cuts me off and I get road rage. Well, instead of acting like this, I'm going to act in a more positive way. Well, the more that you act in this positive way instead of this negative way, well, every time you do that, this is gaining less and less strength. This is becoming less and less part of your identity and who you are. And then eventually, you're no longer bothered by this kind of shit.
You're reinforcing the positive.
You're reinforcing the positive. And then that becomes who you are, though. People get stuck on this idea that who they are today is who they are always going to be. And that is such a false reality. That is not reality.
That is sad.
Well, we've all been there, though.
Yeah, of course.
You've been there. I've been there.
Yep.
Like, everyone has been there. And I understand that thought process.
Absolutely.
But it's not true. And it's also victim mentality, which is unacceptable. But you can change who you are at any given moment. I'm not even going to say every day. Every minute is a new opportunity, because every minute you could be faced with a new challenge that is going to test you. And you choose how you're going to react to that. And however you react to that in that moment dictates who you're going to become tomorrow. And that is a very important thing for people to realize. That was a turning point in my life, was with the negativity thing. Okay, I can choose to be negative, or I can choose to be positive about this. And if I'm positive about it right now, and I continue to do this for the next 7 days or 30 days, one day at a time, right? Just one day at a time, because this is very difficult to do.
It's going to take some fucking work, man.
It's going to take some work. But if I can do this each day, I am becoming a new person. And now that I'm thinking about it, because I didn't plan on talking about that at all, but I'm glad that I am.
We're here.
Now we're here, guys. You're here. We're here. Everyone's here. But that was such a powerful transition for me, because it helped me realize that I can change who I am at any given moment. And it's because when I had that negative thought come up, which was nonstop every single day, I would catch it and I'd go, no, we're not going to think like that. We're going to think positive about it. And what that did was it shifted my reality. Then I became more grateful for everything around me. Instead of thinking that everyone was out to get me, I just started to realize that everyone's dealing with their own shit. If someone cut me off in traffic, maybe they're in a rush. Maybe they're just dealing with some shit and they're like, they barely have any self-awareness right now, which means I need to back the fuck off, because I don't want to be anywhere near that car.
Nowhere near that car.
Or, you know, maybe your spouse, right? Your spouse is just like, they're having a rough day and they're snapping at you. Instead of taking that personal, because I was thinking negatively, I was like, okay, no, like, they're dealing with something. That's okay. They're allowed to deal with stuff because they're human. They have their own life. But instead of thinking that they're pissed off at me and taking this personal, I'm going to think more positively about it. And I'm going to try to help this person or be there for them. Because when we think that, okay, this person hates me or this person doesn't like me, that is how that person shows up in your life. Whenever we automatically assume that everyone hates us, we start projecting ourselves in a way where that person starts acting like that. And that's how like deep this like shift of reality can go. We don't even realize it, but how we view other people and how we view the world around us directly dictates how that world shows up to us in our mind, in our reality. And everyone's reality is completely different. But that's a whole other discussion for another day. But yeah, it's realizing that you can become a new person. Accepting that. And I mean, really accepting it. And then getting excited about it. Okay, cool. I can become whoever I want to fucking be. I'm going to become the best version of myself, because why the fuck not? I can do anything that I want to do. I can become whoever I want to be. Whoever I was last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is who I am right now and who I'm going to become moving forward. And it's developing that plan of attack moving forward that gets you to that next stage in life. to that next level, because that's how this shit works. It's levels. You start off down here. The more that you work on yourself, the more that you eliminate these negative traits, the more that you level up. We talk about that all the time, leveling up, but that's exactly what it is. You get around certain people. The more that you work on yourself, you get around other people, and it's not necessarily one's better than the other, but you realize we're not on the same page anymore. We are no longer alike. We no longer relate to each other at all. And that's because you're on different levels. But that's what allows you to get to these different levels and to experience a better quality of life is by working on yourself.
Just like negativity breeds negativity.
Exactly.
Positivity does the same thing. And once you get to that breaking point, man, and flip that switch, you almost don't allow yourself to go back over it.
If you are steadfast, I think.
I'm talking about like getting to that point to where you are consciously making the decision every day to get better and work on that trait. Once you break over that, man, it's almost like you look back and you're like, well, I never want to be that person again.
Well, that's the important thing, is having that self-awareness and be, okay, this is who I used to be. I don't ever want to be that person again. So what do I need to do? Whatever I need to do, whatever obstacles I need to overcome, whatever books I need to read, whoever I need to talk to. Maybe I need to get a therapist.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I had a therapist for about 6 months to a year. I actually thought about getting one again recently. Not even for mental, because like mentally, I'm better than I've ever been in my life, which is an amazing feeling. But just to have someone to talk to, because we're all dealing with shit. And instead of burdening my friends, my family, whoever, I'll just pay someone else and talk to them. Get off my chest. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm good. Let's keep rolling. And I actually hit up my old, like, we're friends now, but I hit up my old therapist and I texted her the other day. I said, are you still accepting new clients? And she's like, well, no, not really. But what's up? Do you need help? I'm like, oh, actually, no, I don't need any help. Like, I mean, I probably do, but like, no, like I'm good. You don't have to worry about me. Like I'm good.
I'm sure there's something we can
yeah,
find.
Like, I'm sure there's something we can find here, but that's not the thing. Like, I just want someone to talk to. What's wrong with that? Why is it such a taboo thing to talk about what's going on inside, to let that shit out? Why is that so taboo?
I think people think it makes you look weak. Because
talk?
you can't deal with it, like I can't deal with this, I don't need people to know that I can't handle this, it's an ego thing.
No, it's like, definitely straight ego.
I need to deal with this because that's what makes me me,
Especially with men.
Yeah, dude, that's what makes me a man.
I gotta show up.
That's what makes me a man. I have to deal with it. Nah, man.
The only reason I'm laughing, guys, in case you're not watching the video, Cody's got this whole like persona going on. But that's exactly what it is. And I relate to these people. I really do, because that's how I was. That's how my dad was. That's how you used to be. Like almost every man that I know. And that's the unfortunate part, is that men think that they can't talk. Well, that's why you need bros. Like that is the most important aspect of having tight friendships and having a close tribe of friends, is that when you're dealing with something, don't burden your spouse with it. Don't hide it from your spouse. But also, like, that's not their job. Your bros, though, you go to your bros and say, man, I'm dealing with this right now. And you guys talk about it. Maybe you have a beer. Maybe you're just sitting around a campfire. And that's when the best conversations happen.
Yeah, maybe we go hiking and camping.
Yeah, maybe we go hiking and camping. We sit around a campfire and we talk about this shit, because that's when it comes out, man. But that's why having such a tight group of friends is so important. I really think that's what brotherhood is all about. And girls do it as well. Like they talk to each other about that kind of shit. Well, men need to do it too. And I think that's where women are doing it 100% right, and where men can really learn from them, is to open up to your friends. It doesn't make you weak. And if your friends think that it's fucking weak, then get rid of them.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Just get rid of them. There's nothing about this that makes you weak. When you discover something negative about yourself, talk to your friends about it, because here's the thing. They may have dealt with the same shit, and they can give you tools to skyrocket your journey, your process.
Maybe they're going through it
at the same time
you are, and you can just put two heads together and progress forward
So
together.
being able to talk about whatever you're dealing with these discoveries that you made about yourself, which is absolutely amazing. Every time I discover something new about myself, like a bad trait, I get ecstatic. I'm like, fuck yes. I remember there was a point last year where it was like 6 months, dude. There was nothing. And almost I was like, this is not right, because I know that like, right, like I know that there's shit I need to work on. And the fact that I'm not working on anything for the first time in 5 years is getting to me, because I'm not perfect. No one is. And I was like, honestly getting irritated. I was like, what the fuck is it?
What's wrong with me?
Yeah,
we
like,
need to find something.
Right, like, but that's the thing is like over the years, I became addicted to it. Like I became addicted to self-improvement. I became addicted to working on myself. And there is nothing more addicting than that. Because once you start eliminating one negative trait after the other and you see your quality of life improve, that's the motivation. Your relationships get better. You're making more money because you're showing up at your job better. You have more motivation throughout the day because you're in better mood. Like, this shit is weighing us down. These negative traits are weighing us down. And if we get rid of them, we continue to go upwards. This is what's keeping you down. This is why making this the top priority above anything else. You have anger problems? You need to start addressing your anger problems. You're a negative fucking person like I used to be? You start eliminating negativity. That becomes your constant awareness. You always have to be watching yourself. Because the more that you can watch yourself and observe your actions, observe what you are doing in this present moment. And that's the only way that you can do this, is by being present. It's not thinking about the future. It's not thinking about the past. It's being present in this very moment and seeing how you show up, seeing what emotions are coming up inside of you before you react on them, and stopping it right there and choosing to go about this in a different way. That is how you do this. This is how you attack negative traits. But you have to be present, because that's the only way that you have self-awareness. And without self-awareness, you just continue to do the same shit day after day, and you continue to ruin your fucking life. And that's why you have 50, 60, 70-year-olds that almost seem like it's very unfortunate. It's the most heartbreaking thing in the world when you see people at older individuals, and they never realized it.
It's just how I was.
It's just how it was,
just how I was, just how I was raised. I've been this way my whole life. I can't change now.
They wear it as a badge of honor. And it's because they don't realize that important fact that you can change who you are at any given moment. Is it going to be easy? Fuck no. It is the hardest thing that you can do. But you should want that for yourself. You should want to change, because this is holding you back from living your best life. Don't accept this as a badge of honor, because it's fucking not. This is something that you need to work on. Is it going to be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard. Are you going to need to talk to people and open up? Yes, you're going to have to do that. Are there going to be times where you feel like you're not moving forward at all? Yes, but you have to continue moving forward, one foot in front of the other, because you are making progress, even if you don't see it. 1%. That turns into 2%, then 3%, then 4%, and then eventually it's no longer there. Even if you don't realize, and that's the thing, fuck motivation. Fuck watching your progress. Trust. Have faith. Have faith that what you are doing is right. And it's exactly what you need to do. Because that's the thing, people get held up on that. We see it in the fucking gym. We see it with self-improvement. Well, I'm not seeing any results, so what's the point? Who gives a fuck? Who cares if you don't see any difference in the mirror? You are making progress with this, but it's having that faith in yourself. It's having faith in the process and the journey, actually knowing that what I'm doing is the best thing for me. I don't give a fuck if I see any progress, because you might go 6 months and not see a damn thing, but it's just like whenever we're working out, right? You hit a strength plateau. That deadlift remains the same for 6 months straight. And then once you break past that damn barrier, it skyrockets. And that's exactly how this works. It's day after day of trying to not be a negative person anymore, or not being controlled by anger, or all these other impulses, these urges. And it's like, I don't feel any difference yet. it doesn't matter. It does not matter. If you realize that this is something that you need to work on, don't get held up on seeing progress. Just have faith that what you are doing is exactly what you need to do because it's better than what you were doing. Why fall backwards into that? Because that's what that is. You are here right now. You have a choice to make. Am I going to continue moving forward or am I going to fall backwards again? Falling backwards is not an option. And if you do fall back a little bit, you get back up and you keep fucking going forward.
Not saying that you won't, because you probably will.
You will, though.
You will.
But that's the thing. People get so held up on that, including myself. Like everything that I'm saying, guys, is shit that I have dealt with. That's the only reason that I can talk about this with such passion is because I've seen the results. I've dealt with this firsthand. I know what it's like to want to give up on yourself. And that is the most depressing thing in the world. When you discover something about yourself and you put in so much work and then you just give up. You have to live with that for the rest of your life. And there's nothing worse. There is nothing worse than knowing that you could have done better and you didn't. So how do we avoid that? How do we avoid that uncomfortable feeling of remorse and regret? We just keep going. We don't worry about seeing results. We have faith that we're going to get there. We visualize, and this is the most important part of this. This is the most powerful tool that I can give you for this. You visualize who you want to become. When I wanted to become a more positive person, I sat there and I meditated for an hour every day, visualizing myself as this person. How would I show up to work? How would I show up to my friends? How would I show up to life in general? I visualized how that was. I saw myself doing it. I did this every day for at least 6 months. But that was me creating this new version of myself. And I could see it. That's all I needed, right? So maybe you don't see it right now. Maybe you're not seeing any progress. But if you can visualize what this person looks like, you don't need to see any results right now. You just know that eventually I'm going to become this person. And this is exactly who I want to become. So no matter what it takes, no matter what I need to do to eliminate this negative trait that is holding me back from living my best life, I'm going to do it. Because I see who I can become. And that person's fucking amazing. And that person's going to allow me to show up as a better dad. And as a better husband. And then as a better friend. Or a better son. Or a better employee. Or a better boss. You see that. And you have a responsibility. That's the only thing you need. Okay, I want to become this person because this person is exactly who I know I can become. And all I have to do is just keep pushing forward. And eventually, I will get there. But it all goes back to faith. It all goes back to having faith in yourself. And having enough self-love to want this for yourself. To want to have to crawl out of this hole that you've put yourself into. And then maybe fall back into the damn thing and say, no, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue going. I'm going to fucking fight. And I'm going to punch. And I'm going to claw until I get there.
Yeah, don't expect perfection with this. You're setting yourself up for failure from the get-go. If you think you're going to go up and not slip a little bit, you're working on this negative trait you have and you get there and then you slip up. You're like, oh shit, I should not have acted that way. That's okay.
That's 100% okay. And it's having compassion, right? It's having compassion for yourself.
You're human.
You're
going
human.
to fuck up.
You're absolutely going to fuck up. And that's okay. Like, that's good. Good. I'm glad I fucked up because I learned a lesson here. I can't imagine life without mistakes. I don't want to imagine life without mistakes.
I want to be challenged, man.
Of course. And you should. But people try to avoid that. And that's why we don't ever do anything. That's the whole issue with modern culture. Is that we want to remain right here because this is safe. That's the human curse. Like, the curse of humanity is that idea. I want to stay as safe as possible, and I want to stay in my fucking comfort zone as much as I can because anything outside of that is uncomfortable, and I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to remain the same exact person that I am today. I'm going to continue doing the same mediocre fucking shit every single day because I don't want more for myself. I don't love myself enough to do this. I don't have enough compassion for myself to accept that, like, yes, I made mistakes in the past. This is who I used to be. That's okay. Because now I know who I want to become. You don't realize that until you realize these negative traits. What were you going to say?
It takes courage and bravery to admit that you aren't who you want to be and that where your faults lie. And that should be what you're wearing as a badge of honor. I'm courageous and brave enough to accept this and make myself better. Because not only do I want to be better, I want everyone around me that I love and care about to be better. And I know that's going to happen when I let this shit go.
Well, they pick up on it. The people around you.
They definitely do.
They pick up on that. But if you can show up, if you become that courageous person right now that you're talking about, if you can become brave and courageous in this one aspect, that's going to become who you are in general. You're going to take more risks because you're brave. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe it's a financial decision, starting a new job, going into the gym for the first time. These are habits. And if you have bad habits, you get rid of those by reinforcing them, by stacking those new habits on top of them, those beneficial habits. Bravery is a habit. It's showing up in spite of fear, in spite of discouragement. It's showing up and just being open to what's going to happen next. And then over time, you become that, you start becoming that person. You become a brave person that doesn't care about having this negative trait in regards to getting rid of it. I don't care that I have to get rid of this. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But that is the hardest part. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because being courageous and accepting your flaws and accepting that you've fucked up your entire life is a very difficult thing to deal with. But you have a choice to make in that moment. Am I going to remain this person, or am I going to do whatever it takes to no longer be this way? And it's that realization that is life-changing for you if you stick with it and you're consistent with your actions. And if you have faith that this is going to work out, because it will. There's nothing bad that can happen from this. Keeping this constant awareness, deciding to act in a different way. Nothing bad will happen.
You might think it will. Like, oh, well, if I work on myself, I'm going to lose this group of friends that I've had for a decade.
And you might.
That's a very good possibility, because, I mean, if those people aren't willing to move themselves forward and of course you're going to grow from those people. But you have to. In order for you to get to where you want to be, you have to do the fucking work, man. And that's one of the things that I like about self-improvement. It's the same as a gym. The amount of work you put in shows the fuck up.
Yep.
Always. You can't lie about it, because it's going to show itself in one form or the other.
But it will eventually show itself.
Absolutely.
And that's, the more that you do this, and the more that you see progress in different aspects, and like I said, this is never ending. There's always, something else is always going to resurface. Like I said, this time last year, actually, I realized, I haven't discovered anything new. And it was such an odd thing to me that I was like, this can't be right. Because I've been doing this so much for the past 5 to 10 years. I'd say 5 years. But I've been doing this so much for 5 years. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what the hell? Like, there's nothing there. I was like, no. Like, I know that there's something here, and I want to discover this.
It's just not as much as it used to be. And it's a breath of fucking fresh air once you get to that point, man.
But what I've also realized too is it might not be as constant, which is nice because it's not overwhelming. You don't discover. There's been times when I've discovered like 5 different things about myself, and I'm
it's like, oh fuck, God.
Yeah, which one do I tackle first, right? And then it's like, then that's like a full year or 2 years or 3 years, or whatever it is, of getting rid of these things. But now I may go a couple months or something like that. I'm cruising. I'm feeling good. I'm always looking out. And I think that's what's important. Like once you get to a certain stage of this, and a lot of people have it better than others. Like a lot of people, they just had a better upbringing, or they just have more self-awareness. They're more present individuals.
Of factors that play into that.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. But it's kind of always just being on the lookout for what's next. Once you get rid of one thing, then it's okay. Well, this is good. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm not necessarily going to go out there on a warpath. That's what I used to do, but it's because I knew that there was more shit like that I definitely needed to address because it was holding me back. But it's always having awareness. It's always taking that time every single day to be present and observe your actions and your thoughts and these emotions that you have within you. And then when they do come up, okay, good. But what I've realized is, I might go 3 to 4 months, nothing there. But then whenever something comes up, I'm like, now it's like it seems to be really big. And I don't know if it's necessarily a really big thing or I'm just like, it's that realization. It's like, damn, this has really been impacting me for a long time. But it's not getting caught up on that. Like I might realize that root again, right? Like we're going back to discover the root of the issue and think about how it's been impacting your life. But when you reflect on that, where it came from, how it's been impacting you, well, that allows you to show up differently moving forward. Okay, like this is how I would have reacted in the past. I realize that now. I realize that it wasn't okay. But that's going to allow me to show up differently moving forward. But it's understanding that this never ends. Self-improvement is an ongoing process until you die. And you should look forward to that because you're leveling up every single time. Once you abolish one negative trait, you eliminate that from who you are, you eliminate that habit, you're leveling up. And your entire quality of life improves as a result. And when I say this is the most addicting thing in the world, it is a drug. There is nothing else that compares to it. And I've done a lot of really cool shit in my life. But there's nothing that compares to self-improvement and to leveling up. Leveling up is the most addicting thing because whenever you hit one new level, you go, fuck, I wonder what's next. I wonder what I can do next. I wonder how my quality of life can get even better. And that's where I'm at right now. My life is absolutely amazing. There's not one single thing about my life that I wish was different. But in the back of my head, I'm like, holy shit. Like if my life is this good right now and I continue to work on myself, what's next?
This is what me and you have been talking about consistently for the past 2 weeks.
It's such an amazing feeling.
My future is going to be great. And here's how I know why. It's because I'm doing everything right now.
Right now.
I'm not anxious about what I'm creating in the future, what the future's going to look like, but I know it's going to be fucking fantastic because the work I'm putting in now. And if you're that type of person, man, where you're just, I know these people and I know you do too, but they're just like, oh, the future, what's the future going to look like?
I used to be that person.
Yeah, man. And it's a good question to ask because it keeps you directed. But the work that you put in now dictates that person. And you should be doing it for that person that you're going to be.
Yeah. You owe it to yourself.
Yeah, you absolutely do.
You owe it to yourself more than anything else. Because if you don't put in the work right now, future you is really going to be fucked.
It's suffering.
It's suffering, right?
In the moment. The future you is going to suffer in the moment if you don't do it now.
So just work on it right now. Do whatever you need to do. That way, the future you 10 years from now, you a year from now, whatever it is, has an absolutely amazing life. Yes, you're going to have to suffer right now, but who gives a fuck? That's life. Life is not supposed to be just happy all the time. It's cycles. There's cycles of winning and there's cycles of losing. And there's cycles of just fucking surviving. That's all life is about. Life is about reproducing. And the only reason it's about that is because survival. But it's making sure that your quality of life is as good as possible in the future. And that means putting in the work right now. And it's being willing to do that. It doesn't matter how much suffering I have to go through. It's just fucking suffering. Cool.
I'm sure you've suffered before.
You've
You're
definitely
gonna
suffered
fucking
before.
get through this
But
too.
what happens every time that we suffer? We get stronger and we can deal with even more suffering. And then eventually, especially because of the modern world that we live in, this is the best part of it, is we don't really have to suffer that much. So the more of a tolerance that you build to this shit, it's just like stress. The more of a stress tolerance that you build, the easier life gets. The more that you can just accept that suffering is part of life and that's a good thing and that you're going to come out stronger every single time, that's what keeps me going. When I hit these really bad periods, which I still do, where each day I wake up, I'm like, here we go. It's knowing. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to get better from this. If anything, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity to work on myself. It's going to suck right now. I don't even want to get out of bed because I'm so depressed. But I do. Put my fucking feet on the floor and I start putting in the work. I might have to, it might be at 1%. I'm barely getting by, but you motherfuckers better believe that I'm doing something because I owe it to myself. And that is the most beautiful thing in the world, is doing that for you, not for anybody else. They they benefit from that for sure. But it's putting in the work in this moment, no matter what the obstacle is, no matter how much suffering you have to do for yourself, because you know that's going to result in an amazing quality of life by eliminating these negative traits right now. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. We make clothing, fitness accessories, supplements, and other tools to help you reach your true potential. You can check it out at norsefitness.co. And if you found this episode beneficial, please share it with a friend. That way we can continue to make a bigger impact and change the world. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.